Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Evening News for today, Saturday, October the 21st, 2023. I am Jarrell Bryan. Thank you for tuning in. In the headlines, woman 58 perishes in New Amsterdam fire. 4 homeless in Graham's Hall fire. 3 Venezuelans arrested with weapons and drugs in Region 1. Motorcyclist dies in Linden accident. 200 beekeepers to benefit from Cuban expertise in new agriculture pact. And government to sue delinquent contractors over delayed works, NANDLALL. Now for the news in detail. A 58-year-old woman was today killed in an early morning fire at her New Amsterdam Region 6 East Berbice quarantine home, which she shared with 7 other family members. Our Berbice correspondent, Andrew Carmichael, spoke with the grieving relatives and filed our lead story tonight.
Dead is 58-year-old Sharon Austin of St. Magdalene Street, New Amsterdam, Berbice. Austin lived in the upper flat of the 3-bedroom house with her husband, son, and 2 grandchildren. Her daughter, police sergeant in charge of the Reliance police station, Brenda Johnson, resided in a 2-bedroom lower flat with her 2 children. According to Johnson, shortly after 4 hours on Saturday, she heard someone stamping on the floor from upstairs and thought it might have been burglars.
So my sons run out and say, "Mommy, like thief upstairs," but the 2 girls were hustling to open the door, and my small daughter say, "Fire, fire," and my second son run upstairs and pull the 2 girls down, and they say, "Granny torn back in the house," right? Because the fire was not so close to the door, you understand? But my second son run back. By the time he run back to save Mommy now, because she was coming out, right? The fire was too much for him to get to her. And she actually collapsed the smoke at the front, right at the entrance of the front door. And
Your son, you said your second son went upstairs.
yeah, he
How
went
old
up.
is he?
He's 17. And he got down with 2 girls that was up with Mommy. But by the time he run back now for Mommy, the smoke was too much. The fire was already through the windows. Because he cuffed the window. Even to jump through the window, you understand, to get to her, but the fire was too much.
Johnson said all she could have saved was a chair set, a microwave, and a gas stove, while in the upper flat everything was destroyed by the fire. The police officer believes that had the fire service been more responsive, the destruction would have been significantly less.
The neighbors called the fire police. I called the operations room, I jump in the car, drive to them. By the time I reach back, they reach like after me, you understand? And they could have saved the house because from the time they call and everything like that, they could have responded. We live in like actually 2 minutes away from the fire station, you understand? And the house could not have burned so much if they had came on time, you understand? And we would have saved a lot, everything destroyed.
Meanwhile, in a statement, the Guyana Fire Service said it received a call at 4 hours 19 and 3 water tenders along with a fire carrier along with their respective crews were dispatched. All 4 vehicles were used to extinguish the fire. According to the release, the fire started after an energized electric fan overheated and came into contact with nearby combustible material, which ignited.
My 7-year-old was in the room with the grandmother sleeping, and then she woke up and she said she feel the place was feeling hot and she see smoke. She said the fire was on the clothes horse, right, with the clothes, and she was the one that alerted the big sister, right? And then Mommy was walking out. And then they run out and the son grabbed them down and he went up for Mommy, but unfortunately he couldn't.
What type of woman was your mother, to the family, to the community?
Well, for me, there's my everything gone.
For the Evening News, Andrew Carmichael.
We now tell you that another fire this morning destroyed a 2-story concrete house located at Lot 4 Graham's Hall Mission Ground, East Coast Demerara, rendering a family of 4 homeless. Not Your Carbon, her young son, her reputed husband, and her disabled aunt resided at the house. The fire started in the upper flat of the building at around 10:30 hours. According to Carbon, she was in the yard washing clothes when her child alerted her to the fire. She immediately rushed upstairs and managed to evacuate her son and her aunt from the burning building. The flames spread rapidly and the blaze engulfed the entire upper floor within minutes, leaving the family with nothing but the clothes they were wearing. Firefighters swiftly responded to the scene, but despite their efforts, the house was destroyed. The cause of the fire is suspected to be electrical in origin, but a full investigation is currently underway. Ranks of the Guyana Police Force on Friday afternoon arrested 3 Venezuelan nationals who had in their possession 3 unlicensed firearms and matching rounds of ammunition along with a quantity of narcotics. Based on the reports, ranks of the Arakaca Police Outpost, Northwest District, received the information that 3 Spanish-speaking males had visited a shop to charge their phones and were seen with suspected firearms in their waistbands. The police were told that the men were picked up by a known local resident and taken to his home at Waterfront, Arakaca. The officers went to the house and requested permission of the homeowner, identified as Rennie Melville, called Ponytail, to search the property. The 3 suspects were found lying on the floor in the house, communicating in Spanish. One of the police ranks observed a haversack was under the bed in the room, and when it was searched, it was found to contain a Glock 19 pistol with a tampered serial number, along with 6 matching rounds of ammunition, as well as 2 Beretta 92A1 pistols with magazines, one with 12 9mm rounds and the other with 7 9mm rounds. A further search led to the discovery of a bulky black plastic bag with 66.4 grams of cocaine and 64.7 grams of marijuana under a table in the same room. The suspects were informed of the offenses committed but opted to remain silent. According to the police, Melville managed to escape from his residence while the search was ongoing, and a hunt is on for him. Meanwhile, the 3 Venezuelan suspects were taken into custody at the Arakaca Police Outpost pending further investigation and charges. Guyana and Cuba have signed a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) that will see Cuba sharing its knowledge and expertise in the agriculture industry, including in beekeeping, as part of an initiative that will benefit over 200 local beekeepers around the country. Here are the details. The MOU was signed on Saturday on the sidelines of the 2023 Agri-Expo at the Artichon Conference Center. Director General of the Agriculture Ministry, NANDLALL Ramraj, and Cuban Ambassador to Guyana, Jorge Francisco Louis, signed that agreement. In his remarks, Ramraj spoke highly of Cuba's agricultural setup and how much Guyana can learn from it. According to him, the exchange of knowledge will be especially beneficial to efforts to slash regional food imports by 25% by 2025.
As we seek to transform the regional agri-food system towards full commercialization, improve the sustainability of agriculture sector in the region, and reduce the region's high food import bill, we are developing cooperation with countries that have some of the best agriculture practices, and Cuba is one of such countries. Guyana forest has a great potential for apiculture. If exploited, it can create employment and sustainable income for the population residing in the hinterland areas. Guyana has several hectares of land that is mostly unserved with respect to beekeeping and provide tremendous potential for the expansion of the apiculture industry, and will allow for the increase in production of honey to meet the 2025 initiative, allowing Guyana to become an exporter of honey in CARICOM.
Meanwhile, the Cuban ambassador described the initiative as an important occasion for bilateral ties between Guyana and Cuba. Lauding the work that has been done by President Dr. Finali and Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa, the diplomat noted that this MOU is Cuba's contribution to the effort.
It's an important day for our relations of cooperation and friendship with Guyana, where we are expanding our ties, friendly ties and cooperation ties with Guyana in a very important area for our region, for Guyana and for Cuba, which is agriculture. Also, Guyana has a leading role, as we all know, within CARICOM in the area of food security and food production, and Cuba is part of that effort. So we are making also a contribution in that area. We all know that Cuba-CARICOM relations are very historical and very strong. We have the summits between Cuba and CARICOM. In these summits also, the cooperation between Cuba and CARICOM, and in particular in the area of agriculture, this is a sector where Guyana has a leading role within CARICOM. Cuba is also making a contribution.
The full scope of the agreement includes agriculture and vegetable products, livestock and animal products, beekeeping, forestry, and other areas of interest. When it comes to beekeeping, Ramraj confirmed to this newscast that over 200 beekeepers in several regions will benefit. Jarrell Bryan, The Evening News. Coming up on the other side of the break, motorcyclist dies in Linden accident. Please stay tuned.
Superbet, your best bet. With many agents countrywide, our products are easily accessible. Visit an agent nearest to you to play your favorite games. Must be 18 years and older. Terms and conditions apply. Play responsibly.
Contractors, available at Sylvie's are Karcher push sweepers, equipped with dual bristles. These push-powered machines can cover over 32,000 square feet per hour, collecting sand, dust, and particles from roadways and project sites. Save time, use less labor, and earn more. Order yours now at sylviesonline.com or at our 31 High in Hatfield Streets or Lot 90, East Henrietta, Essex.
Welcome back. You're watching the evening news. A motorcyclist died from injuries he sustained after colliding with a motorcar on the Sir David Rose public road at Mackenzie 5 Corner in Linden, Region 10. Dead is 26-year-old Keon Marvin of Lot 252 Mackenzie, Linden. The accident occurred at about 10:45 hours on Friday. There were 3 occupants in the motorcar. Based on police reports, the car was proceeding east along the northern side of the Sir David Rose public road, while the motorcycle was heading in the opposite direction. As the car and motorcycle approached the said intersection, the car driver made a sudden right turn and ended up in the path of the motorcyclist, who collided with the left side rear door of the vehicle. The collision resulted in the motorcyclist being flung some distance from the point of impact, and injuries were observed on his body. He was picked up by public-spirited citizens in an unconscious condition and taken to the Mackenzie Public Hospital complex, where he subsequently died while receiving treatment. The body is currently at the pensioner mortuary awaiting a post-mortem examination. Meanwhile, the driver of the motorcar, a 22-year-old resident of Aichuni, is presently in custody assisting with the investigation. An engineer attached to the Regional Democratic Council of Region 6 East Berbice Quarantine was on Friday rearrested for the shooting of his fiancée. Andrew Carmichael reports that the rearrest followed new evidence that investigators were able to garner in relation to the October 1st shooting. Let's have a look.
Following the shooting of 32-year-old Ashmin Mahadio at her Lot 25D Williamsburg quarantine home, police had arrested her fiancé earlier this month. However, the 29-year-old engineer of Lot 1313 Shoe Lane, New Amsterdam, who was attached to the Region 6 RDC, was subsequently released on $300,000 station bail after the legal 72-hour detention period had expired, and the case file was sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions for advice. On Friday, police rearrested the suspect after they were able to get a statement from Mahadio, who confirmed to investigators that it was her fiancé who shot her. Even though Mahadio is still hospitalized and cannot move any of her limbs, she was still able to provide investigators with some details as to what transpired during the October 1st incident. Regional Commander Shivprasad Bacchus told reporters that Neil Majamutu was rearrested on Friday as the prime suspect and is expected to be placed before the court on Monday, charged with attempted murder. Mahadio was discovered with a gunshot wound to her neck and rushed to hospital in an unconscious state. Reports are that the bullet entered from the back of her neck and exited through her jaw. She was subsequently transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital, where she remains. Police have since gathered evidence in relation to an illegal firearm that was found in the house where the shooting incident took place. Ballistic tests were also done, while detectives also checked the hands and clothing of the fiancé for gunpowder residue. At the time of the shooting, the couple was packing items in Madramutu's company vehicle to be taken to a location in Port Morant where the couple's bridal shower and reception was expected to take place. The injured woman's fiancé initially told relatives that he did not know what transpired and initially suggested that it might have been a robbery. He had claimed that he did not know where Mahadio's cell phone was. He also claimed that his cell phone was also missing. However, both phones were subsequently discovered in a vehicle which the engineer has access to. For the Evening News, Andrew Carmichael.
A flurry of action only on the brink of imminent food crisis would not abet the Caribbean region's efforts to achieve food security and create an enabling agribusiness environment, Vice President Barry Jaglio has warned. Rupert Sinarine tells us more.
Speaking during a presentation at the Agri-Investment Forum and Expo at the Arthur Chung Conference Center, the Vice President painted the frank reality of lacking political will and consistent action in agriculture. Some 15 years ago, countries within the regional bloc had set out to transform agriculture to agribusiness, moving away from a peasant-type agriculture to a viable sector and food security. The former head of state recognized that this is still not in place. Jaglio said regional leaders are only pushing for agricultural policies during times of urgent need, but as soon as the situation abates, then interest is lost.
A lot of the politicians of the region, when we have global crises and we have escalation in food prices, there's a flurry of activities to talk about agriculture and food security. Many conferences, etc., because the political reality of dealing with higher cost of living and anger of people dictates that. As though we can develop a viable strategy just in that period.
This mindset, he added, must be transformed into sustainable and continued political will from leaders in CARICOM. This means even through growth and recessions or successes and disasters, there must be commitment and investment in the agricultural industry.
The efforts have to be sustained through boom and bust cycles, through high prices and low prices. We have to have a sustained policy environment, or we have to address this matter in a sustained way, and that requires political capital to be expended. It requires an understanding and a commitment on the part of each country to do the things necessary to allow the growth of a viable agricultural sector.
Budgetary allocations per country for agriculture reflect an embarrassingly small sum, the Vice President pinpointed. According to him, fiscal incentives should mirror that which is allotted to other sectors, such as tourism.
Often agriculture in many of these places, although they don't contribute to a large part of the gross domestic product of many regions, many countries in our region, they create a lot of linkages and employ quite a few people in countries where you have, until now, high rates of unemployment in many of these territories.
The Vice President also spoke on enabling laws that are still lacking to speak to issues such as predial larceny or the theft of agricultural produce. Lastly, for agriculture to prosper, infrastructure, drainage, irrigation, availability of water are some key issues yet to be fixed. Rupa Sinarine, The Evening News.
Contractors executing public projects could soon find themselves in proverbial hot water if there are lengthy delays in the completion of those works, as the Guyana government is now planning to take legal actions against them. Find out more in this report.
During his weekly program, Issues in the News, Attorney General and Legal Affairs Minister Anil NANDLALL disclosed that at the last cabinet meeting, there was a resolve to take strong actions against all those contractors executing public projects who are failing to perform their contractual duties. He said the Finance Ministry has been directed to conduct a swift audit to determine who delinquent contractors are.
Once that is determined, that information will be passed to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General has received firm instructions to file to first notify the delinquent contractors and demand from them liquidated damages where the contract so permits, and to sue for breach of contract.
According to NANDLALL, government will not tolerate delay in the execution and completion of public works across the country that will stall its aggressive infrastructural development drive.
We cannot continue to have contractors not discharging their contractual obligations in accordance with the contractual specifications. Government will not tolerate substandard work and breach of contracts from contractors who are paid billions of dollars to discharge their contractual obligations. Contractors who are performing well and are discharging their contractual obligations have no reason to worry. The delinquent ones, however, that delinquents will attract certain legal consequences, and the government intends to move strongly and swiftly in that direction.
Only last weekend, President Dr. Imran Ali, who has been visiting the sites of major infrastructure projects across the country to ensure they are on schedule, lashed out at officials in Region 6 for not effectively carrying out their duties to ensure works being done are up to standard. Meanwhile, early this month, the Public Works Ministry was forced to read the Riot Act to contractors conducting works under Leg 1 Stelling, saying that it will institute penalties against them for not fulfilling their contractual obligations despite efforts to meet their demands. I am Kamisi Slow, reporting for the Evening News.
And now for a look at the bridge reports.
The Demerara Harbour Bridge will be closed to vehicular traffic on Sunday, October 22, 2023 at 23 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours. Meanwhile, the Berbice River Bridge is expected to be closed at 10 hours on Sunday, October 22, 2023, also for a period of 1.5 hours.
Amsterdam, Peterson in tough losses at Pan Am Games. This and more coming up in the Sportscast, sponsored by McCorp.
Looking to bring your dream home to reality? Or simply taking on a home improvement project? Then National Hardware Limited is where you should start. Let us put that touch to your home. Choose from over 1,000 Berger Paint original hues for any surface. We are known for our trusted brands such as Westinghouse, Philips, Sadco, Rubbermaid, Pyrex, Gibson Home, and so much more. National Hardware Limited, your do-it-best store. Located in downtown Georgetown and